so delighted to welcome our two speakers today, starting with Martha. She has quite the history, so I'll just tell you a little bit about her. Martha Londigan is an executive consultant with our friends, Startup Junkie, the Startup Junkie Foundation, and that's startupjunkie.org. You're going to want to remember that website. She consults with small business owners and entrepreneurs in the region regarding all aspects of starting a business or growing their current business and maintaining economic viability. And she is so here for you. She is part of a very passionate team, and she cares so much, working every day to empower entrepreneurs and innovators in Arkansas through its many events that it hosts each month, consultations with over 800 regional entrepreneurs annually, and its varied programs in collaboration with NWA groups, institutions, schools, cities, and community organizations. She is here for you, let me tell you. And then our friend Caleb from Startup Junkie, so glad that you're here today. Caleb is the executive director there, has served there as the ED. Now I'm forgetting, was that 2019, Caleb, or you joined the team in 2019?
I joined the team in 2019. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've been ED since November.
And when he started in 2019, he was responsible for planning and carrying out the foundation's portfolio of events and just serving local entrepreneurs in the community like yourselves. And Caleb is a graduate from U of A, knows our area. And also very interesting for today's conversation, he graduated with degrees in journalism and political science. So he says he's cut his teeth as a reporter, photographer, and then an opinion editor in the Times Herald in Forest City, Arkansas. So it's going to be good hearing his perspective and working with entrepreneurs, but also the media side. Since we're talking about communications, that's going to be a really unique perspective today. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Caleb. Take it away. Tell us a little bit about Startup Junkie.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to be here today on this call. I see some familiar faces on the Zoom, some new friends like Jeffrey and Sharon at Art Ventures, and Sean, I'm excited to see you're on here because I just bought your book, What Follows is True, Eureka Springs, or Crescent Hotel. And I'm already halfway through that book. It's so awesome. If y'all haven't seen that yet, y'all should check that out. And so just to give you a little, introduction to Startup Junkie, we are a nonprofit. We're a mission-driven organization. Our office is headquartered in Fayetteville, on the Fayetteville Square. In that space, we facilitate a co-working space where individuals can come in and use from 9 to 5, can use that space to work if they want to get out of the house a little bit, meet clients or anything like that. We also have a conference room in that space that's reservable for meetings or any sort of thing like that. It's reservable, and all of that's free. We exist to inspire and to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, small business owners, entrepreneurs, you name it, anybody that has an idea, all the way up to $25 million in revenue. And all of those services are completely free to our clients because we're third-party funded. And so we do that in mainly two ways. One facet of that is through our one-on-one consulting, as you mentioned. Our team of consultants, including Martha, who meet with our clients and are really passionate about helping our clients through those meetings, and then through events. And those are workshops, lunch and learns, happy hours, networking events. I like to tell people our events are kind of fall into 3 buckets: educational, inspirational, and collaborative, forcing or facilitating, not forcing, creative collisions amongst our ecosystem. And so that's what we do. We do it every day, and we're excited to do it. And we're excited to connect with new people here in our ecosystem that have not yet learned about our services and are eager to plug in with us. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Martha, who's going to start the presentation.
Happy Friday. Hello. And yes, I see so many people that I know. That's so awesome. And I don't get to see y'all. And Jeffrey, I am so sad that I missed your art exhibit at our office. So other than a death in my family, I would not have missed it. So I can't wait till we get to finally meet. I was heartbroken to miss that. So anyway, I just want to say that. And Judith, hello. I haven't seen you in forever. So hope your dad's doing well. Nice to see you. Anyway, so sorry. Speaking of, as you can tell that I like to talk and I like to visit and I like to share. Kelsey, what is our cutoff time? What time should we be finished?
So
find folks back to their lives.
We started at 9:30, and so we're gonna go until 10:30, and I think we can have Q&A throughout.
Yeah.
But let's go for
well, that's
50-ish minutes, and then we'll have some time for questions. Then last minute announcement.
Okay, so yes, if you're wondering, yes, Caleb is my boss. He is the exact same age as my son, which is 30, which brings me great joy. I love working with creatives, and I love working with younger folks, and that is joyful. And people ask me all the time, well, how come you're not the executive director? I said, because if they offered me the job, I would quit, and they don't want me to quit. So I am old. That's why my resume is so long. I have been around a long time, and you can't pay me to be miserable anymore. I have done that many times, and I don't do that anymore. So I love Caleb, and I love working with my team. I'm the only person on the foundation team, I think, over 35. So love it. So people often I want to let you know, they are like, how is Startup Junkie a nonprofit that serves for-profit businesses? So here's the real deal, y'all. JB Hunt, Tyson, Walmart, they have executives, and they go all over the country, and they meet the world's greatest software engineer from San Francisco, and they offer her a huge job and a huge salary in Arkansas. And she goes home, and her husband says, I'm a vegan. Where am I going to eat in Arkansas? And her son says, but my ballet, mother, where will I take my ballet lessons? And her daughter says, what about my mountain biking team, right? All of those are small businesses. And so the big three, the cities, the economic development, Arkansas Economic Development Corporation, all began to see that we have got to have a vital entrepreneur ecosystem to make this a place where people want to live. And then two, to attract top talent to come here. Tech folks hang out with tech folks. I'm sorry, they want their tribe. They want a place to land. And so our whole region is building this. I recently spent 5 months in Tahlequah, Oklahoma for Startup Junkie, making an entrepreneur ecosystem plan for 10 years for them, and got to travel all around that region. And 36 degrees north in downtown Tulsa is one of the greatest entrepreneur spots I've ever seen in the country. Joplin, Missouri has an incredible entrepreneur system going on. Miami, Oklahoma has an incredible entrepreneur co-working space. So this is what we're building up, because the big businesses, the days of when my grandfather was the Chamber of Commerce president in Salem Springs, Arkansas, and you went golfing with rich white dudes and smoked cigars to get them to bring industries to the town, those days are over. That's not the major economic driver anymore. It is small business. It is entrepreneurship. And so that's where we're going. And that's why entities like us and the ASBTDC and E4All and Cash, that's why we matter. And that's why we're building a place where people want to live and work. The job comes secondary. So that's why we do what we do. And like Caleb said, we've recently gotten some other big grants. I've been doing rural development. So I am proud to announce there is now a Women in Business of Searcy County, Arkansas. There is now a Women in Business in Harrison, Arkansas. And I also go out to Eureka a lot. I grew up in Eureka. My mother was an artist. She was always an artist. She tried other careers, and that landed her in prison. And so the blessing of getting out of prison with a felony is she had nothing left to fall back on but her art. So the joy was the last 25 years, she was able to do nothing but her art to try to earn a living, as well as my stepfather. So I grew up in an artpreneur, art business family. I'm a 6th generation small business owner in Northwest Arkansas. My family's been here since 1852. And so what I want to talk to you about today, I want to show you some examples of some what have become famous creatives in food, in art. In the last, I've made a list for Kelsey. In the last year, I have worked with multiple chefs, artists in the medium of paint, artists in the medium of woodworking, paper, fabric art, designers, several clothing designers. The last 3 or 4 months, I've been working with a lot of musicians because I worked with one awesome musician and she told everybody to come see me. I have been working with clothing designers, tattoo artists. And so I tell you all this because we at Startup Junkie really, really want to serve the gamut of creatives in Northwest Arkansas. One of the big events we have every year is the Startup Crawl. So this year we finally got to have it live on the square. We had about 1,800 people, and it always cracks me up. We have all these tables set up with, I invited several of my artpreneurs to set up tables. We had foodpreneurs, we had tech people, you went on a map and you visited businesses, and we had bands in the street and at different locations. And I had several people say, oh, that's so nice, you had bands to give us entertainment. I'm like, those are small businesses. So it's so funny how there was like this disconnect that the bands were not part of the entrepreneur crawl. I'm like, go out and listen to that band, they're a business. So that's the gamut we run, and we're kicking off a cohort. Matthew Ward is of 12 artificial intelligence companies who are coming to Bentonville for 12 weeks, 3 days a week. And I am in the process right now of working with a gentleman who has just progressed through the Seven Hills Homeless Program and has regular housing, and I am helping him to launch a small business. So that is the gamut we run. You run an AI company from India, you live in South Fayetteville and have just gotten in permanent housing for the first time in 4 years, and you'd like to start a lawn care business. That's the gamut of folks we serve. So we really hope that you will help get the word out to people that if they contact us first, we're going to connect them to every free resource, to every low-cost resource, to every resource partner. I had someone call me a couple of weeks ago that said, I need to set up an LLC, but I called 3 lawyers and they all want $2,000. I'm like, I got a gal, you know, she's an accountant. She'll do it for 300. Is that helpful? Oh, yes. Thank you so much. So that's what we do, is we help people find resources to assist them. So talking from the communication perspective, I'm going to show you real quick a little bit. And I think you all have kind of heard this all week, but I just want to show you some examples that if you want to go look at their Facebook pages, their Instagrams, they are people that I think are the ultimate. It also shows you some of the path I've been through with folks. So I'm going to share my screen, and sometimes I'm not real good at this because stuff pops up and gets in my way. Hang on. There we go.
While Martha's doing that, Caleb, I'm sure y'all are planning on doing this later, but I want to make sure that folks know just how easy it is to sign up for a consultation. So let's make sure we do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It really is so easy.
Yeah. Just there's a big yellow button in the middle of our homepage that says meet with us. Click on that and
so easy.
You're there.
Yeah, we didn't even use the fancy word schedule. It just says meet with us and do a Zoom. And I have people, especially since I've been working in the rural areas. I had a lady from St. Joe, Arkansas, out by Marshall, set it up and then text me. She's like, I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm like, okay, we'll just talk on the phone. Or I'm going to be in Harrison in 3 weeks. Do you want to meet then? So we're very, very flexible on this. So hopefully you all, Kelsey, can everybody see my screen of my email? Yep. All right, so I start here with Raphael. I first met Raphael in 2014. He had the first food truck on the Bentonville Square, and I was working at the Walton College Small Business Center then. It's now under the Office of Economic Development and located on Dixon Street, which I'm a little hacked that I had to fight the U of A and go to the Walton College every day, and now they're on Dixon Street. But anyway, so I was there. Was working with Raphael. Then I left the ASBTDC. I got hired away by Fancy Pants Legacy National Bank to help them set up their SBA lending department. And I helped Raphael and his brother Roman get their loan to go into the 8th Street market before anybody knew what the 8th Street market was. We didn't know Walmart HQ was going in across the street. We didn't know the Momentary was coming. We heard Alice Walton was doing something with that building. That's all we knew at that point. And I show this to you because Raphael is someone I have worked with a long time. They always did social media, but empowering creatives to understand that your origin story is incredible. Artists are special. Most artists, my mother from the time she was 3 years old knew she was an artist. That's part of it. It's her DNA. It's what she was. I developed a great appreciation for it, but I'm not an artist. I can't draw. I have a wonderful eye for color. I adore art. I'm obsessed with museums and art, but I don't have that. And so Raphael has, seeing him develop, go to their Facebook page, their Instagram, and you will see the incredible story of how he tells the story and has constant, I'm showing you a few of these slides of how he makes the ingredients. He went and spent, I think, about 4 weeks in Mexico last year and documented all the villages he went to and all the foods he was learning recipes and how to make them. Their website, the Yios website, is, I think, one of the greatest small business websites I've ever seen in my life. It tells the entire origin story of their family, how his father came to the United States from Mexico and worked in the produce fields in California. And then the entire family moved here when they found out how cheap land was here and set up what is probably the premier produce farm, and now also adding meats farm in the region, and then the food truck, and then the restaurant. And then when they opened the second restaurant in Rogers, how they incorporated art. The Yios in Rogers is like an art museum. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. And so that is a great one to study and to see the progression. The next one is, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with all these screenies, is sliding my slides. There we go. This is Rachel McClintock. And so Rachel is a woodworking artist that I've been working with last year. And she has opened my mind to the beauty and just listening to her talk about her wood. And so when I met her, I came in, she can't talk to you about her wood without touching it. I love that. If you talk to her about what she makes, she will touch it. And she will touch it as she talks to you and tell you about the life of that tree. And so one of the things that she and I talked about was telling that story. And what I hear a lot from my creatives, chefs, tattoo artists, musicians, medium artists, fabric artists, is they'll say, oh, I don't want it to be about me. It's about the food. It's about my art. It's about the work. I get that. And that's wonderful. And it's a big ding, ding, ding to me that you're going to be a very successful person when you are that humble, when you are that committed to what you do. But I will tell you, people don't buy products. People don't hire services. They buy you and they hire your services. The difference between one person buying your work once and then never thinking of you again and becoming a lifetime customer, becoming a lifetime client who spreads the word and opens opportunities for you and introduces what you do and your works to others, is that connection with you. And unfortunately, this is how we communicate. And so people like, I don't like social media. I hate everything online. Okay, well, guess what? I hate it. That's going to be 102 today. Guess what? It's going to be 102. It ain't going to change. Nothing's going back in time. This is it. People sleep with their freaking phones on their bodies. All right. So this is where we tell our stories now. The beauty of that is you completely control it. And watching Raphael over time, who's a very mild-mannered person, I have just seen him blossom as he has told his story in depth, personally, to the minutiae details, and seen the world respond to that. And so this is where we tell the stories, and this is where it is so important, so that your work, your creative process, your creative products, your services, what you do gets out to the world. And then of course you do things like this with Rachel, is where she completely made all the woodwork for the business next to her, a restaurant, and then puts that out and shows the real world applicability of that. That is also not bragging. Oh, look, I got a big commission. That is not bragging. That is showing that the business world values creatives, that there are people out there who are willing to spend $100 more for a bar stool to be wood from Arkansas made by a local woman artist. And that you are helping the world and the ecosystem in which you exist by telling those stories. Amy Eichler is someone I've worked with, and she is She is so much fun. She was already a social media darling on Instagram. She already had a great website. She already was great at telling her story. She is very comfortable with showing how art is part of her whole life. She shows you when she's pregnant, when she has a baby. She does lots of posts about her daughter, taking her daughter out with her. One of the things I worked with Amy about, though, was getting on Facebook. And I listen, Denise Brooks, who has Alexis Information Systems, which is one of my favorite creative marketing humans in the world, a dear friend, taught for me what I believe was the first Instagram for business marketing class in Arkansas. We did it together in 2014. And this was a time when Instagram was all women, was gay guys, and creatives and designers. That's it. Nobody else was on Instagram, right? But Denise early on saw the power because of all these wonderful creatives that were on Instagram. And the whole reason Facebook bought Instagram was because of its photography software. So Instagram was always supposed to be special, the pretty picture, the funky angle, something of beauty, not just a post of here's what's going on like on Facebook. And so that's great and that's wonderful. And especially if you're in creative space, you want to be on Instagram. But folks, you can't share Instagram posts. So the power of the post is diminished. And I have worked with a lot of my creatives in the last recent years, really pushing them to whatever they're doing on Instagram to also create on Facebook. And don't just share it over, because even though they're owned by the same company, they don't play that well. It can look kind of funky if you share from Instagram to Facebook, because the power is that people can just hit share. If you have a business Facebook page and you share a post and you have 700 followers of your page, only probably about 40 or 50 people actually see that post, because Facebook has become a giant corporate monster that must feed the beast. It must have money. So its algorithm is going to control that, and they want you to pay for boosted posts, which actually, FYI, are pretty inexpensive. But the way to overcome that is you have got to put out posts that are so interesting that people want to touch it. We're all like little babies, right? We want to touch stuff. And so when we see a face we like, we touch it. When we see a heartwarming story, we do a comment. Oh, that's awesome. We share things that touch us or that make us upset or that we think are wonderful. The more you get people to like, comment, and share, then Facebook's algorithm says, okay, most of your followers actually care about what you do. Most of your followers actually kind of like you. So we're going to go ahead and let them see your posts, even though they already told us they want to see your posts and we haven't been letting them. We're going to do that. So that's your choices, is you've got to either be so interesting with your content that your followers get excited and touch your posts, or you have to put out content and boost it. And so the way to do that, one of the things I love, if you'll go to Amy's page, is she does these time lapses. People love before and afters. They love before and afters. Rachel McClintock does that. She does pictures of the wood. That one I just showed you here was, she was asked to come up to Crystal Bridges to some of their fancy pants. They got some fancy pants benches up there. And so they didn't just want, some hack to come up there and fix their benches. So they actually hired a woodworking artist to come fix their benches. And she told the story about why the wood that was put on the bench in the first place never should have been there, and how she fixed it and how she made it better. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I find that absolutely fascinating, because when I sit on a bench, I just think about, does it make my butt hurt or does it feel good, right? So she opens my mind to seeing the beauty and the importance of the type of wood and how things are cut, etc. And Amy does this with these time lapse. I mean, you can't not watch a time lapse. It's so much daggum fun. And so she started doing this. She tells her story. She did this one as a fabulous time lapse of her hanging art while she's 6 months pregnant at an art display at a restaurant. And then another thing she does that I think is really great is she constantly has her customers and clients send pictures of their art in their home. I worked with a client who has a food truck, and on Sunday she does a family pack. And so we were talking and I said, do you have customers that like you enough to send you pictures of their family having your family pack at their table? She goes, oh yeah, huge response. So she tells you family pack, and she shows you her food, but she never shows you families eating her food. So she did a whole series of people taking pictures with her family pack at their kitchen table, at grandma's house, at a picnic, and did those posts. And you can see here where Amy does this with her clients who send her pictures of her art. She also, another thing Amy does that I think is awesome is she does a recap at the end of the year, tells her most popular posts, all the places she has shipped her art, things that have happened to her. This is not bragging. This is sharing. If you're following her page, you like her. And that's what I tell my creators all the time. If people like your page and follow it, they like you. They want to know what's going on. They want to see new things happening. Jeffrey, who's on the call now, I was telling a bunch of friends we were hosting an art show for him with our wonderful art ventures. We were just so thrilled to do this. And because I started following him on social media, I saw that he's doing a series about Stranger Things. And I was talking to a friend of mine who works about 5 blocks from Startup Junkie, and she's not a big what you call artsy person, right? She's a tech person. But I told her, I said, hey, that artist who's going to be at our office tomorrow night, he's starting a series of art about Stranger Things. And she's like, oh my God, are you kidding? Art for Stranger Things. And she got so excited because she's obsessed with that TV show. So social media allows you to tell these stories and show all these different ways. And you know, I've been working recently with Patty Steele, and note, I tell you all these people I've worked with, everything we do is confidential. The people I'm telling you I've worked with, it's because they post out. We take pictures together. They come on our podcast, tell their story. So, but any of you who contact us, I tell people all the time, if I run into you at the grocery store, I'm not even probably going to say hi to you first, unless you want to say hi to me. If you want to tell people I've consulted with you, great. You know, it's always up to you. So everything we do is very confidential. Some people just don't want people knowing their business. They don't want to know when they went to a business consultant or needed help, or that they're thinking about doing social media and those things. So I tell you this because this is another thing that Startup Junkie offers our clients because of Caleb's incredible work as a wonderful marketing manager before he became our director. We have a massive social media reach. And so I tell people, you know, hey, if something's going on with your business, if there's something you want us to share out, that's part of what we offer is a platform to promote our small businesses that don't have a lot of money for marketing budget. So that's part of what we do also. And that's, you know, if you tell me you want me to share your stuff and you let me get to know you, especially as an artist, you can go on my Facebook page. I'm always sharing people's stuff. And I think that I've had clients tell me, you know, that post you did last week, I sold 3 shirts because of your post, because people know I can only be me. I don't get excited about something. I don't share something unless I think it's really important and credible. And I tell you all this because I bet that all of you know customers and clients like me of your work, and you need to let them share. You need to tell them that you appreciate that. You can ask them. I was eating in a restaurant that I go to all the time. It's a couple that has a restaurant. I just worship and adore them. I help them very minimally. They were already ready to go, but I've helped them somewhat with the restaurant. And the other day I was in there and we were talking, and she's like, ma'am, you know, this has been slow and this, blah. I said, hey, what do you want me to do a post about? She goes, yes, do a post. I said, you tell me what's best. Do a post about the brunch on Sunday. We got people coming on Saturday, but nobody's coming Sunday. I said, okay. So I did that. I mean, people who love what you do and care about what you do, they're not going to say, no, I didn't want to do a post for you. All right. So that's my 2 cents on all of that stuff. So the next thing I'm going to share with you is kind of a different, probably communications, maybe not what you exactly expected when you talk about Communications Week and creatives, but I'm going to share with you also, and Kelsey has the PDF of these slides, so don't feel like you need to take notes because that's boring, and you don't need to say, hey, what did that? She's going to send you an exact replica. She's going to email these to you. So if you signed up to get on here, she has your email and she will send these to you. And
Martha, that's not in slideshow mode. Can you?
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to get
there
it.
you go. Cool.
There we go. We're good. Okay. So it also will have my contact info. Oh, and FYI, there's a picture. If you're not familiar with the Fayetteville Square, look in the screen to the left. You see our logo. We're directly above Tula Restaurant, which is also one of our creatives that we have worked with since their opening, and we all eat there all the time because it's awesome. These are local assistance resources. I've kind of spilled off several of them. And so here they are printed with websites. You can book an appointment with me. I have Monday reserved. If any of you want to email me from this presentation, I can book a Zoom with you, or we can do a phone call. So I've got my Monday. I plan to have my whole Monday, but because of I had a lot of family stuff go down this week, so I will be available Monday after 10:30 a.m. All right.
And Martha, let's keep it easy for you. If anyone on this call would like to set up a consultation with Martha, DM me right now with your email address.
And then you send them my email. Perfect.
Yeah, then I will send Martha. Here's a list of all the people that would like to set up a consultation with you, and then Martha will follow up with you.
And if you don't want to do a full and if you don't want to do a full consultation, that's fine. If you just heard me a minute ago what I said about knowing an accountant who will set up a full LLC package for $300, I'll send you her contact. So I'd love to do a consult with you, but if you just need some quick info, there's no offense. I'm happy to do that. I can be a long drink of vinegar, and I talk a lot. So that's fine if you just want the basic info. It doesn't bother me. I've also I'm very involved in 2019. Part of the agreement for me to leave banking and come to Startup Junkie is I told them, I want to work with women, and I want to work with creatives, and I want to work with people who traditionally don't have access to entrepreneurship. I'm old, and if I'm going to leave this banking job and this kind of corporate world, I want to do that. So I am very involved. I run a series for us called Her Entrepreneur Journey all over the 9 counties. So I have a lot of resources and a lot of people to connect you with if you are a woman and want assistance in being a woman in business. So I talked to you already about the creative story. I will not back off of it. I will tell you, you have to have a dynamic website to be a second level success in any business. It's absolutely vital. Not having an alive, decent, visually appealing website is like opening a business in 1975 with no telephone. It's the same equivalent. And I can help you with that. I can give you ideas. I can connect you with free resources, with very low cost folks to help you with that. It's absolutely vital to have that set up. All right. And so I'm showing you these plans to have a more organized business for 2 reasons. One, this stuff is not fun. I run 2 small businesses with my husband. I spend weekends doing unfun accounting stuff and business stuff and record stuff. It's not fun. And especially for creatives, it is very destructive sometimes to the mental work and the passion of wanting to do their art. So what I show you this for is because there are very simple processes to help get that down and set aside so that you can have other folks helping you, or have that cleanup, that cobweb that's been in the back of your head. So that, I mean, I remember my mother, it was panic time. Of course, she never filed her taxes in the spring. We always got an extension. But I remember the stress and worry and the mess of my mother, because she traveled all over the country and did art shows. She was in the American Craft Council and she did art shows everywhere. And it was just this mess, and she had piles of receipts. And I look back now because I was younger and I didn't do this for a living then. I was in my law practice, not doing that. And the stress and the worry, and it took away from her spirit and her creativity. And then she also got liens from the IRS, and she got in a mess, and it was awful. And I wish there had been a Startup Junkie for my mom so that she could just set that stuff aside and have someone she trusts and not have to worry about that. It was very, very upsetting to her because that wasn't who she was dealing with that. So there are a lot of tools that we can help you with, just starting out with a lean canvas map. Where are you with your creative business, and where do you want to go? And like these customer segments, I can help you with some ideas for how to expand. And I'm not going to say you should do this. I'm going to say, what is it you want to make more of and sell? what dish, what product, what type of tattoos do you want to, what type of tattoos do you hate doing? Okay. So let's just make sure none of that's on the website then, and how to grow all that. So these are all things that we can work with you on. This is our basic plan for business. And I tell people all the time, we don't do these things just because this is what you're supposed to do. We do these things because all of us on our team have worked with businesses starting out in a garage or in a back bedroom that are now at very large levels. And going through those processes, we have seen things that have caused problems, have caused issues. A big one we're seeing in Northwest Arkansas a lot in recent years is people just launching a business and thinking they can name it anything they want. Y'all, it is constant. I had a creative business last week that contacted me about wanting to apply. I also run the Kiva microloan program for the Walton Family Foundation. And so part of the basics is I got to have some basic business documentation. This person had gone and gotten a federal tax ID number and an Arkansas sales and use tax number in the name of an LLC that they hadn't even filed yet. And then when they went to the Arkansas Secretary of State, the name was rejected because somebody already has that name in the state. So now we're having to backtrack and start all over. And so there are some really basic things if you'll just work on those. Then I've worked with, I had this story for years. I never would tell it publicly because it was confidential. And then she came on our podcast and told the story to the whole world. So Lauren Blanco, who has Markham and Fitz chocolate, used to be Hello Cocoa. I started working with Lauren in 2014. I told her then, are you sure you can use that Hello Cocoa name? Well, I've been doing it for 2 years. I'm like, okay, but I just said, I think you should check on that. Well, years later, she came to me for a loan. So now I'm in the catbird seat, right? I'm the banker. And I said, Lauren, till you prove to me you can trademark that name, I'm not making you a loan. Well, sure enough, Lauren told in the podcast, Lindt Chocolate has owned the rights to the name Hello Cocoa for over 40 years. They have a federal trademark. Well, the beauty was Hello Cocoa wasn't really Lauren. That wasn't who she and Preston were. They were moving from Fayetteville to Bentonville, opening a public store. So they changed the name to Markham and Fitz. Markham is Preston's son's middle name and Fitz is Lauren's dog. And it became, and look, they have not missed a beat. It's more who they are. Within a year, they got picked for Oprah's editor's favorite things and got into anthropology stores. You don't think Lindt Chocolate would have found them? They would have been that huge and their name would have been, they would have gotten a cease and desist letter. So a lot of these things we can help you with at the get-go that matter.
Hey, Martha,
yes.
Can you go back to the lean canvas just since you're talking about like foundational basics? I'm just super curious to know the folks that are in the Zoom room right now. Can you put a put an M for map, put an M in the chat if you have ever filled out a lean canvas map, and put a question mark in the chat if you have not seen this format before. Thank you.
And I will tell you the number one most important thing on this whole map is in the middle. It's the UVP, unique value proposition. There are millions of chefs. There are zillions of tattoo artists. There are hundreds of painters. What is unique? And this is the same thing I go through with people opening a clothing store or a lawn care business. You have to be able, you must identify what is special about you and why one is going to buy your stuff.
Like, because this sort of, when I've heard people, thanks for the participation in the chat. I'm seeing lots of question marks and a few M's. This is great. When I worked with Martha, when I was at Main Street Siloam Springs, we worked with small businesses in downtown Siloam together. And it's daunting to create a business plan, right? But a business plan, like earlier in this communication session, we talked about how important it is to have a messaging framework to help ground your organization, your business, to help guide your messaging. Similarly, for an entire business, it's so helpful to have that anchor, to have that map of what makes you unique, where are you now? Where do you want to be? But a business plan is daunting. This makes it simple, and startup
you
junkie
can't,
can help
you shouldn't even be talking about marketing and branding until you identify your UVP, because that's your branding. It's all got to start with that. I'm starting now in a lot of these little business things, and here's why. I remember this with my mom. She would get so upset. Should have been a professional environment. I should not cuss. But people would come in her booth, and she's got this beautiful vase that she spent hours on painting and firing. My mother, she was mostly a modern pottery is what she did toward the end. And people say, you should have $300 on it. Will you take $250 for that? And it's that added people come into your restaurant and they're like, hey, I want to do catering. Show me your catering package. Okay, well, will you give me, if I do 12 instead of 10, will you? I don't see people do that often in a lawyer's office, in an accountant's office, even in a lawn care office, asking for that cut. And so when you have your business set up in this formal business manner of an LLC, you have your sales and use tax number up. People see that how you operate the business, that you have a professional website. I think it helps a little bit to cut that attitude of not valuing what you do as a creative, as a business. And it cuts some of that bad attitude that you get from people asking for a deal, or say, well, can you play the song in this key instead of that key? Can I have this painting but no red? People, I think the more that you have this base and you present your business in a certain manner, and especially if you sell products or do services contracts with with stores or chains or bigger businesses, when they start talking to say, we're thinking about carrying your work. Can you send us a W-9 and a copy of your certificate of organization and your operating agreement? And you say back, sure, got that saved. What's your email? And so I think it kind of helps with that attitude, because I remember experiencing that, and I've experienced it with my clients who tell me stories about people trying to take advantage of them because they think because they're an artist or they're a musician or they're a tattoo artist, they can treat them less respectfully in a business manner. So that's why I show you a lot of these things that matter. I worked with a creative last week who's having to move because she never bothered to check with the landlord about her building, and she's not actually supposed to sell products to the public. They're not zoned for that. So I've gone through the whole process of getting out of that lease, and luckily the landlord had another property and is not going to sue her because she just didn't have the full business conversation when she signed the lease. And so this can cause a problem when you lose your space because you didn't have the full business conversation. Record keeping. We have awesome, cool, fabulous, wonderful CPAs and accountants. I have people that work out of their home. They'll come visit you in their car. They'll help you. You don't have to go to some formal big firm. I have accountants who regularly work with creatives and very, very small micro businesses. So we have all of that to help you if that's something you haven't pulled back and taken the time for. Insurance. We have a list of small business insurance companies in Northwest Arkansas. So you don't go to a State Farm or an Allstate or a Farmers to get small business insurance for a creative who travels around the country and goes to music shows. You want to go to a multi-line business. And I have several insurance agents who work with creatives, who work with micro businesses. And 80% of the time, my clients call me back and say, oh my God, I didn't know it was that cheap. I'm like, they're like even scared to ask. And so, especially, things like if you're a musician, a performer, and you don't show up at an event, especially if like it's a wedding and you got a bridezilla and her mom's a lawyer, she's going to sue you in small claims court because you made her sad at her wedding because you got sick and didn't show up. All right. So so that's why you want to have an LLC, so they can't get a judgment against you and garnish you at your job where you teach music lessons, right? That's why you want to have business insurance that can have errors and omissions to cover getting you a lawyer if you get sued by some bridezilla or from some concert promoter who's a jerk. All right. So those are all the kind of things that I think can be helpful and give you that kind of peace of mind. Personnel. I have a client who has an art studio and a gallery. She contacted me a few weeks ago. She's like, I got to have some help at the front. I love it that people are coming in the store, but I've got to have time. I need you to help me hire somebody because I want to hire an employee. I said, you want to hire an employee. I said, you want to do payroll? You want an employee manual? You want to learn hiring and firing? She's like, oh my God, no. I said, no. So she's going to a staffing agency. I sent her to a staffing agency. I said, they'll send somebody out, a receptionist, to answer the phone, help you maybe with social media, do this stuff. Here's the joy. Instead of paying that person $15 an hour, you're going to pay the staffing company $18 an hour, a little extra to take care of all that yuck that you don't want to deal with. And then you can call them and say, please don't send her back. We don't jive. It's just not good. I need someone else. And they'll say, okay, we'll send somebody else tomorrow. You don't have to fire anybody. You don't have to deal with unemployment. So these are some of the things I work with very small businesses to help them see these solutions and things to help them. Zoning. I've had clients come in and they're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that out of my home. And I'm like, okay, I know you've been doing it, but do you know that's not legal in that town? And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm not telling nobody, but let's figure out a way to get out of this situation and get you in a legal situation before your grumpy retired neighbor turns you in and you got a big problem on your hands. So those are some of the things we work with folks on. Taxes. I got bookkeepers. I have 3 women home-based bookkeepers who are awesome, that I love it when my clients get in contact with them. They're like, she set all my books up and it's so easy. And I just email her once a week and she's so nice. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have those kind of resources to help with you. Banking, you know, I really tell people, get a real bank with real bankers. That means not an online bank, a place you can go, people to help you. I have a client that was so freaked out about having a business checking account. I called one of my favorite people at the bank I used to work at. And I said, okay, this is my friend. This is Crystal. You go here on these days, these hours. She will sit down. She will show you all this. You don't need to be scared of having a checking account. She's going to help you make sure you're not overdrawn. She knows about the one that you had the problem with before. She's got a plan to help you get that fixed. So they're real people. Bankers really love small businesses and they really want to help you. If you need a loan to go to the next level, I have a list of all the SBA bankers, all the micro lenders like Forge and Communities Unlimited who want to work with women, who want to work with creatives, who want to work with minorities, to help you get the financing that you need. So these are all the different sources. I'm not going to go through all this with you here. I just want you to know these are things that we can talk you through to see if it would be helpful to you to grow your creative business in whatever way, to also help you get ready. Don't go to a small business banker cold. Talk to me. Get some cash flow projections made for free at the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center. If you're ready to grow and go growth mode, I'm going to encourage you to talk to E4All and get in their cohort to have a regular set meeting every week for 12 weeks coming this fall. Get some mentors. We're going to help you to find these resources to let your business become what you want it to be in the creative space. So that's what we do. I think that's kind of everything I was going to say. Anybody got any questions?
And please put your questions in the chat. Put the word question in the chat so that I make sure that I get to you. I know Martha just gave so much good information to chew on. I know you've got some questions, so please put them in the chat. While y'all are thinking and giving us some questions to discuss, I'd like to hear from Caleb about going back to Martha, what you were saying about the lean canvas map and how like you shouldn't even be thinking about marketing and communications until you have really established what your unique value proposition is. Caleb, can you talk to us from a journalism media standpoint? How important is that grounding UVP? Did I say that right? Unique value proposition? Yes. Mm-hmm. How important is that grounding UVP for things like press releases, for things, specifically to get the media's attention?
Absolutely. So having worked on the other side of that table, we would get press releases, and you see so many people that reach out to you as a member of the media and say, hey, tell our story, report this, we're doing this. And it would be I mean, some of the things would just be laughable because it's like, getting a press release. I just, stepped outside of my porch today. Give me earned media. There's got to be something that's newsworthy there. And that goes back to the UVP. Like if you're not doing something unique, you're not doing something that's newsworthy, and newsworthy can mean different things for different outlets that you're connecting with. So there's got to be something of news value if you're going to put together a press release. Maybe you've opened a studio or you've done a partnership with somebody and those sorts of things. And then as you're putting together a press release to distribute to members of the media, it's also incredibly important to kind of go back to that, the 101 journalism 101, who, what, where, when, why, and that all should be, you should be able to figure that out in reading a press release within the first 2 paragraphs. If somebody's reading your press release, they should be able to understand exactly what you're doing, exactly what's going on immediately. And then you can go into detail throughout the rest of the press release, add quotes and that sort of thing. And so I'm of the mind, having been on the side where I was receiving press releases, I know some folks try to make them short and sweet. Here's the point, here, and distribute it. I agree that it should be concise in regard to what the information you're trying to distribute is. However, I think you should include a bunch of detail in the body of that press release, because folks that work in the media nowadays, newsrooms are empty. You have 1 or 2 people doing the job of 10 people that from 20 years ago, and so their time is limited. And so if you're able to put as much information into the body of that press release, it makes their job easier because they can pull that information. They're not trying to call you and track you down and say, okay, elaborate on this, elaborate on that. So having that detail in that body of work is important, and pictures, of course, if there's a visual element to that as well. But there's a lot of pieces, and it's all relative to what you're doing and the media outlet that you're trying to reach. And I'm happy to meet with anybody if anyone wants to schedule a consulting meeting and wants to sit and talk through potentially a press release or need some help kind of hashing one out and what to do with that. We've done workshops in the past through Startup Junkie that are recorded, that are on our YouTube channel, panel discussions with members of the media. We did a panel discussion probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago, with someone from KUAF, someone from KNWA, someone from Arkansas Business, someone from the Democrat Gazette, all kind of fielding questions about what it's like to, best practices for connecting with them to get their story told. So that lives on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to check that out.
Yeah, and you know what, I work with clients and I tell them, I say, listen, whenever you're getting ready to do something, or you're making something new, or you're partnering with some other creatives, like, a food truck and an artist, or a tattoo artist and a dance studio, you're doing something together and a bunch of people start saying, that's cool. Well, that's cool. Well, I want to go to that. Bingo. That is probably something that Caleb and I could help you with a press release and to craft a story so that when you send the press release, the reporter, the writer doesn't go, so what? So anytime you're doing something and a lot of people are excited about it or think it's super cool, that might be something. Or something happens with one of your works or your food, or you do something in the community and lots of people are telling you how great it is. That's something that could be a really neat press release, a story that you could get out. And once you get in with those people, like once I've done several, after about a year being at Startup Junkie, lots of stories, and I've sent press releases, especially like when we launched the Kiva Hub. That was a big deal. We were trying to help disadvantaged business owners and underrepresented business owners. And so we launched that. Once I did that, then they kind of got to know me. So like during COVID, they would contact me and say, hey, can you connect us to 2 food trucks and how they're pivoting during COVID? Or, hey, we saw this series that you're doing about women entrepreneurs. So they saw a press release I did about a woman entrepreneur event. 2 months later, they contact me because they're doing a piece on women entrepreneurs and growth in Arkansas. So they remembered me. They didn't do anything with the press release I sent them before. Didn't come to my event, didn't cover it. But 2 months later, I was top of their mind, and I got to connect 2 of my women business owners to them. And I got to be interviewed, and we got all this free media because they were wanting to do a story about women entrepreneurs. So you can't get pissy when they ignore your press release and then 2 months later want you to give them something. Okay. They're giving you thousands of dollars of free media. And sometimes they're going to contact you at 9 a.m. and say, I got to have this done by 2. Mm-hmm. Is it worth $20,000 in free advertising to be on TV, to drop everything? That's up to you, but that's the way they work.
Mm-hmm. And to Martha's point, they're humans too, and they're just trying to do their job. And so building those relationships, basically what Martha was saying there, so building those relationships with them can be one, it feels less transactional when you're trying to get them to cover their story. But also two, you become a source for them. If they know that you are working in that space, your field, you become a reliable source for them for information and for contacts and that sort of thing. So building that relationship, treating them like a human too, and just like, even if they put out a story, comment under that article on Facebook and say, wow, great piece, or something like that, just like you would want someone to do for some creative work that you've done. That's kind of my thinking around that as well.
Because I will tell you, getting on a little segment on television, the response is huge. Every time I've been able to get something, I've had calls and emails and texts. People see it. They do. And so anytime you have a chance to be in the Democrat Gazette or highlighted on Axios or on TV on a morning talk show or anything like that, I'm telling you, it still is very massive reach.
I've got a question in the chat for you, Martha. All right, the question is, I am trying to keep up with the logistics of running a small creative business. How can I carve out the time for marketing and communications, like a press release, like social media, like keeping up a website?
And so I would be happy to talk to you for about 20-30 minutes and give you a simple plan for that. One of the things I do is I have you print off physically a January through December calendar. All right. And so we're going to sit down and start to look at things that are going to be coming up every year. Is Mother's Day a big time for you to sell? We're going to go back 6 weeks and put on that calendar, start Mother's Day promos, so that you don't wake up one morning and go, oh crap, Mother's Day's next week, right? So a lot of it is that real basic. The next thing is I'm going to talk to you about what your skill level is. I'm going to look at what kind of posts you've been doing. I'm going to have a conversation with you. Like me, can you tell? I hate Twitter. Twitter only lets me use so many words. I don't like Twitter. All right. And there's lots of there's lots of creepy dudes on Twitter. I don't like Twitter. I don't do any Twitter. Caleb does all the Twitter. I love Facebook. Facebook lets me type as many words as I want. I can put as many pictures as I want. I'm getting more. I like Instagram more because I really like the hashtag thing and the spread. So I'm going to talk to you about what you're comfortable with. What parts of social media do you enjoy? Then I want to talk to you about your customers. I want to talk to you about looking at your own social media posts for the last 6 months. What has gotten the most likes, comments, and shares? Do more of that. All right. Look, I have people all the time. They're like, I didn't even notice that. They've never gone back and looked at their own. Other thing is simple. You do a post and someone comments. That's beautiful. You like that comment and you comment back and you tag them back and say, thank you for this. Because you know what? You do that enough, then they'll start sharing your stuff. And their 1,600 friends are going to see exactly what they share out, because that is not filtered as much. Facebook says they don't filter it at all, but they do, but not near as much as they filter it for businesses. So it's just, we'll just talk about that. And then we can talk about, do you have a set time? I'll talk to you about, okay, here's something you can do all the time when you're stuck waiting on a doctor's appointment. Here's something you can do all the time when you're stuck waiting at the pickup for your Walmart take home or whatever. And so I can, so there are lots, it depends on who you are and what you want to accomplish and what your channels are, but there are ways to get it down where it's very simple. And then I'll talk to you about a big thing, which is it's social media, not sales media. You should also be sharing other creatives that support you. You should be sharing stories about your industry. And if you follow the pages of a, Tattoo Artist Today magazine or Bands in Arkansas magazine, that is simple, awesome content. You can just hit share and they'll like it that you did that you promoted their music magazine, right? And it's also simple for you, and it's a 5-second share, and you just put a little comment. It shows people you're in the know, you're following your industry. I worked with someone who sells roses, and I got them to follow all of these American Rose Society, Rose History, this Rose group, all this stuff. Gives her great ideas for educational and current content about roses. And she didn't have to write it. She just shares it, and she gets a lot of feedback on that.
And I will provide one shameless plug before whatever else, any more questions. Come visit us at the office. If you schedule a consulting meeting with us, we could do those in person. I think we kind of touched it on the beginning, but we have an Art Ventures exhibit. Jeffrey Cantu has paintings all over our co-working space. So if you just want to come work in our co-working space, take some meetings. If you want to, spend some time in the Prior Center, there's free Wi-Fi and that sort of thing. I didn't see beforehand, but Orson's on the call with us. Orson has an incredible blue shack that's in the Prior Center that you have to come see if you come to our building. He's doing a lot of great things for
our building
music to kids.
Yeah, tell them our building is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so if you want to meet someone, I don't know about y'all, but I'm old. I hate coffee shops because they have music blaring. Oh my God, I cannot concentrate. So we have a great space. The Prior building, I just showed it to you, East Side Square, 7 to 6, Monday through Friday. You come in the doors, you go up to the second floor. If by chance we aren't there, we have very nice tables and chairs set up outside. You can look in the window and see the Wi-Fi network and the password. You can sit there, you can meet with people. It's typically very quiet there unless there's an event going on. It's a professional space and you can meet people there, or you can just come there to work because, your girlfriend or your teenagers are being too loud in the house and you need to go somewhere and do some book work or work on something. So we do have that space for you anytime.
I think we only have time for one more question, but this is a good one. Martha or Caleb, how do you get past the feeling of yuckiness? It's so funny, of yuckiness about salesmanship. How do you stay an artist that sells things without letting it suck your soul?
All right. So first of all, get rid of the S word sale. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but I'm telling you, it is not a cliche. Tell your story. Okay. I watched my mom and my stepdad do it in action at art shows. They just told people, because my mom, she would, if we were on the East Coast, she would heavy side that Southern accent, right? And it's just telling your story about how you did your art and why you did your art. And my mom loved to tell people that she and my stepdad met, they were pen pals in prison, right? And they exchanged art together, and that's how they got together. And people just love that story. It's true. When I was a teenager, I was a little embarrassed of it. Now I just think it's the coolest thing ever. So tell your story. People want to get to know you. What is this? And be open to them. Like they'll be like, what does this design mean in this tattoo? Or why do you, like Raphael, like Eos, if you'll notice, they have radishes in almost everything. Now, if you go to Taco Bell, there are no radishes in the Mexican food. He will tell you in their region of Mexico about how radishes, and so that you'll see radishes and everything. It is telling the story. And here, please understand this. If people give you money for what you make and do, you're awesome. They don't have to do that. Okay. So you can't let people love you and get to know you if you don't tell them your story. And then I showed you the business side. You got to run it like a business. And if you do cut somebody a big discount on a work because you got a car payment due next week and they tell their friend, so we got to talk about that a little bit. All right. And so empowering, I have people all the time who say, well, I've been making this stuff and selling it a little bit, but it's not really a biz, but I thought my sister said I should talk to you. And I'm like, okay, how much are you grossing a month? Oh, about $2,000 a month online. I'm like, oh my God, you are selling $2,000 a month of this and you're not even trying. Yeah, is that a business? I'm like, girl, I mean, so talk to people that you know care about what you do, and talk to other. Don't be scared to ask other business owners who are good at what you do, and ask them, say, how do you do this? What is this? You know, get some tips and ideas, and then you'll find a rhythm, you'll find a space, and you'll do the best you can.
I want to just reiterate something. Oh, and Martha, could you stop sharing your screen, Brittany?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just bring up the last few slides for me as we wrap up. Just want to reiterate, I feel like something you just said really summarizes the entire session today. And that's, you have to still pay attention to the business side, but instead of it being something that's a burden, it's something that can free you up to be expressive and focus on the creative that fulfills you. So by taking care of the business side in a smart way, and leaning into services like Startup Junkie and the free resources that they can connect you with, that will free up your energy and your imagination for the creative side, which is why you're a creative in the first place. So it's doing these sorts of foundational building blocks for your business that can help you to communicate and tell your story and get people to learn more about you and love the creativity that you do.
Yeah.
So
you don't need to start losing sleep every March because tax season's coming. There's no reason for that. There are people who can help you set up some simple systems. I've had people that wanted to apply for a Kiva loan that were petrified because of this issue with their business. And I'm like, oh, all you got to do is this. Oh, I didn't know that. All right. So here's the deal. Saying, okay, I didn't realize I was supposed to pay a fee for my LLC every year to the state. Nobody told me that. Okay, y'all, we ain't in 8th grade. No business fairy is going to come to your house and tell you. I'm like, well, it's because you didn't update them when you moved 2 years ago. So you haven't been getting your tax notice. All right. So it's little things like that people like me can walk you through, and you can set a calendar reminder, pay LLC franchise fee this time every year. So we can help you do some of those things, because nobody told me. How's anybody going to tell you if you don't ask for help?
Exactly.
Ask for help.
And that's another reason. Thank you, Jeffrey. It's another reason for us to hang out. This is not, we don't have like a set agenda where we're chatting about a specific topic. We're just hanging out and getting to know each other so that we can help each other out. Like Martha just said, get to know each other and learn each other's stories. So let's stay in touch beyond Black Apple this afternoon. Can't wait to see you all there. We also, I've already seen so many of you in these sessions. I'm going to cut this short and just remind you, please go to our website. We exist, Cash exists to just cheer y'all on and support in any way that we can, and really just be inspired by you and hear from you about what you all need, and how I'm just, getting you all together. So please use the calendar. Please use the directory when we reboot it. Stay tuned. And you'll know that it's rebooted and ready if you follow us in our newsletter. If you subscribe, then you'll hear about it. And please look at our YOLO site. That's Year of Learning and Outreach. And that's how you'll know what future sessions are happening. This is not the end of this kind of convening, this kind of learning together. So stay up to date on future sessions by staying connected with us. Thanks so much to Startup Junkie. Let's give some love to Martha and Caleb and give some gratitude to them. I have noted everybody who has sent me a direct message asking to be connected with Martha for a free consultation. But if you change your mind, if you didn't contact me, just go to the Startup Junkies website. It's so easy to set up a consultation. And
FYI, I chose the opening song today, and I will tell you.
Yeah, we forgot to talk about it.
It is a wonderful mantra song. When things are going rough and you feel like it's, I'm beyond fan, but I slightly worship Brandi Carlile. But my favorite song of hers is called The Eye. And she says, you can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye. So there are people who will help you. There is an eye. It's always going to be swirling. It's always going to be issues and problems. but you can still dance if you can find a place of peace. And a lot of what we're talking about you is helping you get to where you can find that peace while the hurricane swims around you, that you can still create and be happy and enjoy what you're doing. So I advise it. It's a great mantra song.
And that's what'll fade us out today. So thanks again, Martha. Thanks again, Caleb. Thanks to all of you. See you this afternoon.